The obsidian chamber floated in the cold darkness of space, its black surface reflecting the light of 1,000,000 distant stars. Inside this massive structure, 12 different alien species gathered around a circular table that glowed with soft, blue light. The Galactic Council had called an emergency meeting, and the topic was always the same these days: humanity. Admiral Kang De-ho would have been fascinated to see this place. But humans were not welcome here. The Council had made sure of that long ago. They spoke in their own languages, but translation devices allowed each species to understand the others. The air itself was carefully controlled to support all 12 different breathing systems. At the head of the table sat High Commander Vex of the Vorthak Empire. His gray skin looked like stone, and his 4 black eyes showed no emotion as he watched the other council members argue. The Vorthaks had ruled this part of the galaxy for thousands of years, and they did not like change. Humans represented change in its most dangerous form. The humans have colonized 17 more worlds this cycle, announced General Crix of the Keldan Federation. His insect-like body clicked and buzzed as he spoke. They multiply faster than any species we have seen. Their technology advances every day. If we do not act soon, they will outnumber us all. The other council members stirred nervously. Some species had been dealing with humans for decades now, and they all had the same story. Humans appeared friendly at first, wanting to trade and share knowledge, but they learned everything so quickly. They improved every piece of technology they touched. They asked too many questions and never seemed satisfied with simple answers. Dr. Park Yunbi was working in her laboratory on Research Station Beta 7 when she first intercepted the Council's secret communications. She had been studying alien plant samples, trying to understand how different worlds supported life. Her work was peaceful, scientific, and had nothing to do with politics or war. That was about to change. The station orbited a dead planet far from any human colony. Dr. Park had chosen this location because it was quiet and safe. No one bothered her here, and she could focus on her research. She had discovered 3 new forms of plant life just this month, and her reports back to Earth were full of excitement about the possibilities for medicine and agriculture. But her equipment picked up more than just scientific data. The station's communication array was powerful, designed to send messages across vast distances. Sometimes it caught signals that were not meant for human ears. Back in the council chamber, Commander Vex finally spoke. His voice was deep and slow, like grinding stone. The human problem requires a permanent solution. Traditional warfare would be costly and uncertain. They adapt too quickly to conventional weapons and tactics. "What do you suggest?" asked Ambassador Thel of the Aquarian Collective. Her blue skin shimmered as she leaned forward, water dripping from her gills. Vex activated a holographic display in the center of the table. The image showed a creature that made several council members step back in fear. It was roughly human-shaped, but larger and more muscular. Its claws were as long as knives, and its teeth filled a mouth that seemed too big for its head. Most disturbing were its eyes. They showed intelligence, but also endless hunger. "Project Nemesis," Vex announced. "Our greatest scientists have worked for 5 years to create the perfect weapon against humanity. This creature is engineered specifically to hunt humans. It tracks their scent across vast distances. Its skin resists their energy weapons. Its bones are stronger than their armor. Most important, it learns from every encounter." The council chamber fell silent. Even species that had seen thousands of years of war looked shocked at the creature on display. Dr. Park was running a routine scan when her equipment started picking up the encrypted council transmission. At first, she thought it was just interference from a distant star system. But as she listened more carefully, her translation software began working on the alien languages. What she heard made her blood run cold. "How many of these creatures exist?" asked General Crix, his voice filled with both fear and excitement. "The first batch of 1,000 is ready for deployment," Vex replied. "They are contained in special pods that can be launched toward human colonies. Once released, they will multiply quickly. The humans will have no defense." Captain Lee Taemin was inspecting his ship when the emergency message reached him. The UES Stalwart was humanity's newest. reconnaissance vessel, equipped with the fastest engines and most advanced sensors available. Lee had served in the Martian colonial wars and knew the signs of approaching trouble. Dr. Park's message carried those signs in every word. All human colonies are in immediate danger. Dr. Park's voice crackled through the ship's communication system. The Galactic Council has created biological weapons designed to hunt our species. They call them Reapers. The first attack will begin within days. Lee called his crew to battle stations immediately. The Stalwart was not a warship, but it was fast enough to reach Earth before any alien weapon could get there. He needed to warn Admiral Kang Dae-ho and the Earth Defense Force. On Earth, Admiral Kang Dae-ho was reviewing reports from the outer colonies when Captain Lee's ship arrived. The Admiral was a veteran of 3 wars and had spent his entire life preparing for threats against humanity. But this was something new and terrifying. Biological weapons? Admiral Kang asked as he studied Dr. Park's data. Creatures designed specifically to hunt humans? According to Dr. Park's intelligence, they're already being launched toward our colonies, Captain Lee reported. The Council believes these Reapers will force us to surrender without a fight. Admiral Kang was quiet for a long moment. He looked out the window of his office at the blue planet below. Millions of humans lived on Earth, and billions more had spread across the galaxy in search of new homes and opportunities. They had never asked for war, but war was coming to them. The first Reaper pods were already flying through space, heading toward human colonies that had no idea what was coming. In a few days, humanity would face an enemy designed by 12 alien species working together. These creatures would be stronger, faster, and more deadly than anything humans had ever encountered. But Admiral Kang smiled grimly as he activated Earth's defense networks. The Galactic Council had made one critical mistake in their calculations. They had studied human biology and human technology, but they had never really understood what made humans dangerous. It was not their bodies or their weapons that made humans a threat to the established order of the galaxy. It was their refusal to give up, no matter how impossible the odds became. Send a message to all human colonies, Admiral Kang ordered. Tell them that the Galactic Council has declared war on humanity. Tell them that we will respond as humans always have when faced with extinction. Captain Lee waited for the rest of the order. Tell them, Admiral Kang continued, that the war begins now. The first Reaper pod hit New Sol Prime at dawn. The farming colony was peaceful, with 50,000 people living in small towns scattered across green valleys. Most of the colonists were growing food to send back to Earth or to other human settlements. They had no military base, only a small defense force led by Commander Kim Jae-sung. Kim was eating breakfast when the alarm started screaming. He dropped his coffee and ran to the command center where his staff was staring at their screens with confusion and fear. "What are we looking at?" Kim asked, studying the readings from their sensors. "Something crashed in the northern valley," reported Lieutenant Han. "But it is not showing up as metal or rock. The sensors say it is organic material, but it is moving and changing shape." Kim had fought in border wars before, but he had never seen anything like this. The pod had split open like a flower, and something was crawling out. The thermal scanners showed a heat signature that looked almost human, but larger and wrong somehow. "Get the evacuation shuttles ready," Kim ordered, "and wake up every defense trooper we have." The first colonists to encounter the Reaper were farmers working in the wheat fields. They saw something moving between the tall plants and thought it might be a lost animal. When they went to investigate, they found something that would give them nightmares for the rest of their short lives. The creature was 8 feet tall and covered in dark skin that seemed to shift and change color. Its arms were too long for its body, ending in claws that could cut through metal. But the worst part was its face. It looked almost human, but the mouth was full of sharp teeth, and the eyes showed a cold intelligence that studied everything around it. The farmers tried to run, but the Reaper was faster than any human could be. It moved like water flowing over the ground, covering impossible distances in seconds. The colonists barely had time to scream before it was on them. More pods were falling from the sky now. Kim watched from his command center as dozens of heat signatures appeared across the colony. Each pod contained one Reaper, but that was more than enough. These creatures had been designed for this exact job. "They are heading straight for the towns," reported Lieutenant Han. But how do they know where our people are? Kim was wondering the same thing. The Reapers moved with purpose, not like wild animals, but like hunters who knew exactly what they were looking for. They seemed to ignore buildings and equipment, focusing only on finding humans. Engineer Choi Yun-ah was working in the power station when she heard the emergency broadcast. She was young but brilliant, one of the best technical minds on the colony. Her job was keeping the fusion reactors running so that the farms could operate their equipment. The broadcast told everyone to stay indoors and wait for evacuation shuttles. But Choi could see through her window that the shuttles would never reach everyone in time. The Reapers were moving too fast, and there were too many of them. She activated her cybernetic implants, devices that helped her interface directly with the colony's computer systems. The implants let her control machines with her thoughts and process technical data faster than any normal human could. But when she activated them, something strange happened. A Reaper had been approaching the power station, moving in a straight line toward her location. But when her implants came online, the creature stopped and turned its head like it was confused. It sniffed the air and looked around, but it seemed unable to find her anymore. Choi realized something important. The Reapers were tracking humans by their scent, but her cybernetic implants were somehow interfering with that ability. The electronic devices in her body were masking her human smell or confusing the creature's senses. Meanwhile, veteran Marine Nam Ho-jin was leading a group of colonists toward the evacuation zone when they encountered their first Reaper. Nam had served in 3 wars and fought against rebels, pirates, and alien raiders. But he had never faced anything like this. The Reaper appeared from behind a building, moving faster than Nam thought possible. His plasma rifle fired automatically, sending bright bolts of energy into the creature's chest. The shots hit their target, but the Reaper barely slowed down. Its skin absorbed the energy like it was designed for this exact type of weapon. "Run!" Nam shouted to the colonists. "Get to the shuttles!" The Reaper leaped 20 feet through the air, landing directly in front of Nam. Its claws swept toward his head, but years of combat training saved his life. He rolled to the side and came up firing, this time aiming for the creature's legs. The shot slowed the Reaper down but did not stop it. Nam realized that these things had been built to resist human weapons. Every piece of equipment that humanity used in war had been studied and countered. But Nam noticed something else. The Reaper fought like it expected him to act a certain way. When he used standard military tactics, the creature was ready for them. But when he did something unexpected, like throwing dirt in its face or attacking from an unusual angle, the Reaper seemed confused for a moment. Commander Kim was coordinating the evacuation when reports started coming in from across the colony. The news was terrible. 17 towns were under attack. Thousands of colonists were dead or missing. The defense forces were fighting bravely, but their weapons were not effective against the Reapers. "Sir," Lieutenant Han called from his station, "I have Engineer Choi on the comm. She says she has important information about the creatures." Kim took the call immediately. "What have you learned, Choi?" "The Reapers track us by scent," Choi reported. "But cybernetic implants interfere with their ability to find us. I have been hiding in the power station for 2 hours, and the creature outside cannot locate me as long as my implants are active." This was the first good news Kim had heard all day. "Can we use this somehow?" "Maybe," Choi replied. "If we can create electronic interference on a larger scale, we might be able to confuse them. The power station has equipment that could generate a broad-spectrum signal." Kim made a decision that would save thousands of lives. "Do it. Create as much electronic noise as you can." Choi worked quickly, redirecting power from the colony's systems into a massive transmission array. She set it to broadcast on every frequency she could think of, creating a storm of electronic signals that covered the entire colony. The effect on the Reapers was immediate and dramatic. The creatures stopped their hunting and began moving in, circles sniffing the air frantically but unable to find their targets. Some of them started attacking each other, confused by the electronic interference. Nam Ho-jin used this opportunity to lead more colonists to safety. The evacuation shuttles were loading people as fast as possible, but there were still thousands of people scattered across the colony. As the last shuttle prepared to leave New Seoul Prime, Kim stood on the landing pad and watched the colony he had protected for 5 years burning in the distance. The Reapers were still there, wandering among the empty buildings like lost animals. But humanity had learned something valuable from this attack. The Galactic Council's perfect weapons had a weakness. They could be confused and tricked. They had been designed to hunt baseline humans, but they had not accounted for human technology and human creativity. The shuttle carrying the survivors reached Earth 3 days later. Admiral Kang Dae-ho met them personally and listened to every report. When he heard about Choi's discovery and Nam's observations about Reaper behavior, he smiled grimly. The Galactic Council had just made their first mistake. They thought they understood humans well enough to create the perfect weapon against them. But they had forgotten the most important thing about humanity. Humans never stopped learning, adapting, and fighting back. The war was just beginning, and humanity was about to show the galaxy what they could do when their survival was threatened. 3 months after the attack on New Sol Prime, Earth had transformed into a war machine. Admiral Kang Dae-ho stood in the command center of the newly built defense complex, watching reports flood in from across human space. 17 colonies had been attacked by Reapers, but something unexpected was happening. The attacks were failing. Dr. Park Yoon-bi had returned from her research station to lead Project Phoenix, humanity's response to the Reaper threat. Her laboratory was now the size of a small city, filled with the brightest minds Earth could gather. Scientists, engineers, doctors, and soldiers worked together around the clock to solve what they called the Reaper problem. The creatures are designed to hunt baseline humans, Dr. Park explained to the assembled team. But they cannot adapt to humans who are no longer baseline. Every time we change ourselves, we become harder for them to track and kill. General Yu Kyung-soo, Earth's new chief military strategist, was developing what he called the Terran Doctrine. His idea was simple, but revolutionary. Instead of trying to fight the Reapers with traditional weapons, humanity would evolve faster than the creatures could adapt. War is not about having better guns, General Yu told his officers. War is about being unpredictable. These Reapers were built to fight humans as we were yesterday. We will become the humans of tomorrow. Professor Bae Sunwoo had been given an impossible task: study living Reapers and learn their weaknesses. His laboratory held 3 of the creatures in specially designed containment cells. The Reapers paced constantly, their eyes always watching the humans who moved just beyond their reach. They learn from every encounter, Professor Bae reported. But their learning follows patterns. They expect humans to behave in certain ways based on biological and psychological profiles. When we act outside those patterns, they become confused. Lieutenant Shin Da-eun was the first volunteer for the new Human Enhancement Program. She had lost her family in the attack on New Sol Prime and wanted revenge, but more than that, she wanted to make sure no other human family would suffer the same loss. The enhancement process took place in a medical facility that looked more like a spacecraft factory. Doctors installed cybernetic implants throughout Shin's nervous system, modified her bones with synthetic materials, and altered her brain chemistry to allow faster reaction times. When the process was complete, she was still human, but she was also something more. "How do you feel?" Dr. Park asked as Shin woke up from the final surgery. Shin flexed her fingers and watched data stream across her vision from the new implants. "Different. Faster. Like I can see things before they happen." The enhanced soldiers were not the only change humanity made. Captain Lee Tae-min was leading the development of new weapons that could adapt their output based on what they were fighting. Instead of fixed energy settings, these weapons analyzed their targets and adjusted automatically. "The Reapers have skin that absorbs standard plasma bolts," Captain Lee explained to his engineering team. "But what if we change the frequency, every few shots, or use multiple types of energy in the same beam?" The first field test took place on the mining world of New Busan, which had been abandoned after a Reaper attack 2 months earlier. Captain Lee led a team of enhanced soldiers armed with adaptive weapons to hunt down the creatures that still wandered the empty colony. Lieutenant Shin Da-yoon was part of that team. As they moved through the deserted streets, her enhanced senses picked up traces of Reaper presence that normal humans would never detect. The implants in her brain processed dozens of data streams simultaneously, creating a 3-dimensional map of threats and opportunities. "Contact," Shin whispered into her communicator. 3 Reapers 2 blocks north. They are hunting in a pack formation." The enhanced team moved like ghosts through the abandoned city. Their cybernetic implants made them nearly invisible to Reaper senses, while their modified bodies allowed them to move faster and more quietly than any normal human could manage. When they encountered the first Reaper, the difference was immediately obvious. The creature lunged at where it expected a human to be, but Shin was already somewhere else. Her enhanced reflexes let her dodge attacks that would have killed any normal person, while her adaptive weapon fired energy bursts that the Reaper's skin could not absorb. The Reaper fell within seconds, its body convulsing as unfamiliar energy. Patterns disrupted its nervous system. The other two creatures tried to flee, but the enhanced humans were faster. Captain Lee's team eliminated all 3 Reapers without taking a single casualty. Phase 1 complete, Captain Lee reported back to Earth. Enhanced humans are effective against Reaper forces. Recommend immediate expansion of enhancement program. But General Yu had bigger plans than just creating better soldiers. The Terran doctrine called for every human settlement to become a fortress, every human citizen to become a potential warrior, and every defeat to become a learning opportunity. The Galactic Council thinks they understand war, General Yu told Admiral Kang. They create a weapon and deploy it. They expect us to surrender or die. But humans do not fight that way. When we are attacked, we become stronger. Dr. Park's team had reverse-engineered enough Reaper biology to understand how the creatures reproduced and spread. This knowledge led to the development of biological countermeasures that could kill Reapers at the genetic level. We can create viruses that target their DNA, Dr. Park explained. But more importantly, we can modify ourselves to be immune to their tracking systems permanently. The enhancement program expanded rapidly. Volunteers came from every human world, wanting to undergo the process that would make them invisible to Reaper senses. Some chose minor modifications like cybernetic implants or bone strengthening. Others underwent complete transformation, becoming post-human warriors designed specifically for hunting the hunters. Professor Bay made another crucial discovery while studying the captured Reapers. They communicate with each other through pheromone signals, he announced. If we can decode those signals, we can predict their movements and even send false information. This led to the development of pheromone generators that could confuse entire groups of Reapers or lead them into traps. Human forces began using psychological warfare against creatures that were supposed to be immune to such tactics. The Galactic Council was watching these developments with growing alarm. High Commander Vex called another emergency meeting as reports arrived of failed Reaper attacks across human space. The humans are adapting faster than our projections indicated, General Crix reported, his insect body clicking nervously. Their enhancement program is creating soldiers that our weapons cannot track or kill effectively. Then we must create new weapons, Vex replied coldly. But it was too late for that approach. Humanity had moved beyond simply defending themselves. Captain Lee's successful mission on New Busan was followed by similar operations on 12 other worlds. Enhanced human teams were actively hunting Reapers, using their own biology against them. More importantly, humanity was no longer fighting alone. The brutal efficiency of the Reaper attacks had shocked several alien species who were beginning to question the Galactic Council's methods. 3 minor species had secretly contacted human diplomats, offering information and support. Admiral Kang stood in his command center and watched the tactical displays showing human forces across the galaxy. Red markers showed Reaper positions, but they were shrinking every day. Blue markers showed human forces, and they were growing stronger. Status report, Admiral Kang requested. 17 human worlds have been successfully defended, reported his aide. Enhanced forces have eliminated 60% of known Reaper populations. The enemy weapon is no longer effective against our modified forces. Admiral Kang nodded grimly. The Galactic Council had tried to create the perfect weapon against humanity. Instead, they had created the perfect training ground for humanity to become something the galaxy had never seen before. The war was far from over, but the balance of power was shifting. Humanity was no longer the prey. They were becoming the predators. 6 months after the first Reaper attack, humanity was no longer hiding. General Yu Kyung-soo stood before a massive holographic display showing the entire galaxy. Red dots marked Galactic Council territories, while blue dots showed human worlds. But now there were green dots appearing throughout Council space, and those green dots represented something the Council had never expected: liberated worlds. The Terran doctrine is working, General Yu announced to his staff. Every human world has become a fortress, every human citizen has become a defender, and now we move to the next phase. Ambassador Seo Ji-hoon was working in a location that would have been impossible to imagine a year ago. A diplomatic station in neutral space, meeting with representatives from 3 Galactic Council species who wanted to change sides. The Keldan Federation, the Aquarian Collective, and the Stellar Union had all sent secret envoys. The Vorthak Empire has been planning to eliminate your species after they deal with humanity, Ambassador Seo explained to the alien diplomats. We have intercepted their communications. They consider you all to be potential threats that must be controlled. The evidence was overwhelming. Human intelligence teams had been working for months to gather proof of the Vorthak Empire's true intentions. High Commander Vex had not just created the Reapers to destroy humanity. He planned to use them against any species that might challenge Vorthak dominance. Captain Huang Mi-young commanded the Ghost Fleet, a collection of human ships that had been modified with technology reverse-engineered from captured Reaper specimens. These ships could move through Council space without being detected, striking at military bases and research facilities before disappearing again. Target acquired, Captain Huang reported from the bridge of her flagship. Reaper breeding facility on Vorthak Prime's 3rd moon, beginning attack run. The facility was supposed to be secret and heavily defended, but human intelligence had located it weeks ago, and the Ghost Fleet had been planning this attack ever since. The breeding facility was where new Reapers were created and trained before being sent to attack human worlds. Captain Huang's ships appeared from hyperspace without warning. Their weapons had been modified to fire the biological viruses that Dr. Park's team had developed. Instead of trying to destroy the facility with explosives, they infected it with engineered diseases that targeted Reaper DNA specifically. The attack lasted only minutes, but its effects would be permanent. Every Reaper in the facility died within hours, and the virus spread to contaminate the entire production system. The Galactic Council's primary weapon factory had been turned into a biological wasteland. Dr. Ko Sang-min was working on humanity's most ambitious project yet, the Prometheus program. This was not just about enhancing individual soldiers. This was about creating an entirely new type of human being, one designed specifically for the war that was coming. The volunteers understand the risks, Dr. Ko explained to Admiral Kang. The transformation is permanent and irreversible. They will become something that has never existed before in the galaxy. The first Prometheus volunteer was Colonel Park Min-ho, a veteran officer who had lost his entire unit in a Reaper attack. The transformation process took 3 weeks and changed every system in his body. When it was complete, he stood 8 feet tall, his bones were as strong as metal, and his mind could process information faster than any computer. But the most important change was invisible. Colonel Park's entire biochemistry had been altered to make him undetectable to any known alien sensing technology. He could walk through a Reaper nest without being noticed, and Council scanners would read him as empty space. "How do you feel?" Dr. Ko asked as Colonel Park underwent his final tests. "Powerful," Colonel Park replied, his voice deeper than it had been before. "Like I was born for this war." The Prometheus soldiers were not the only new development. Human scientists had been studying captured Council technology and improving on it in ways that shocked even their creators. Dr. Park Yun-bi's team had developed weapons that could adapt not just to their targets, but to entire tactical situations. "The Council species think in patterns," Dr. Park explained. "They have been fighting wars the same way for thousands of years. Our new systems analyze those patterns and develop counters in real time." Meanwhile, Captain Lee Tae-min was leading raids deep into Council territory using ships that seemed to violate the known laws of physics. Human engineers had discovered that Reaper biology included organic components that could manipulate space-time in limited ways. By reverse engineering these systems, they had created faster-than-light drives that left no detectable signature. "We can appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning," Captain Lee reported. "The Council cannot predict our movements or prepare defenses." This capability allowed humanity to begin attacking Council supply lines and communication networks. Every day, more Council facilities went dark as human strike teams eliminated them with surgical precision. The psychological impact was enormous. Council species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia were suddenly afraid to leave their home systems. Reports of phantom human ships created panic among populations that had never known fear. High Commander Vex was feeling that fear personally, as he stood in the Council chamber, watching reports of failed operations scroll across the displays. 3 member species had withdrawn from the Council entirely, taking their fleets with them. Two more were demanding an end to the war with humanity. "The humans have turned our own weapons against us," General Crix reported, his voice filled with disbelief. "They have captured our technology and improved it beyond our understanding." "How is this possible?" demanded Ambassador Thel. "They are a primitive species. Their technology is thousands of years behind ours." But that was exactly why humanity was winning. They had no preconceptions about how technology should work. When they captured Council equipment, they did not try to copy it exactly. They stripped it down, understood its principles, and rebuilt it in ways that no Council species had ever imagined. Dr. Koh's Prometheus soldiers were beginning their first combat operations. Colonel Park led a team of 12 enhanced humans on a mission that would have been impossible for any normal military force, infiltrating the Council's Central Intelligence Facility. The facility was located on a heavily defended world deep in Vorthak space. It was protected by automated defense systems, energy shields, and patrols of the Council's best soldiers. But none of these defenses were designed to stop enemies that did not register on any known sensors. Colonel Park and his team walked through the facility like ghosts, gathering intelligence and planting biological weapons that would destroy the Council's entire information network. They completed their mission and escaped without the defenders ever knowing they had been there. The intelligence they gathered revealed the Council's deepest secrets, including the locations of hidden fleets and the names of species that were secretly supporting the human cause. More importantly, it contained the complete genetic profiles of every Council species, information that would allow humanity to develop biological weapons as specific and deadly as the Reapers had been. Ambassador Seo was using this intelligence to accelerate the collapse of the Council alliance. Species after species were withdrawing their support as evidence of Vorthak treachery became impossible to ignore. "The Vorthak Empire has been using all of you," Ambassador Seo explained to a gathering of Council representatives. "They created the Reapers not just to destroy humanity, but to test a weapons system they planned to use against anyone who opposed them." The revelation split the Council permanently. 6 species formally withdrew and began negotiations with humanity for mutual defense agreements. 2 more declared neutrality and opened their borders to human ships. Only 4 species remained loyal to the Vorthak Empire, and even they were beginning to question their allegiance. General Yu watched these developments with satisfaction. The Terran doctrine had worked exactly as planned. Humanity had not just survived the Council's attempt at genocide. They had turned it into an opportunity to remake the balance of power in the galaxy. "Phase 3 is complete," General Yu reported to Admiral Kang. "The Council alliance has collapsed. 6 species have joined our cause, 2 more are neutral, and the Vorthak Empire stands alone with only 3 remaining allies." Admiral Kang nodded grimly. The war was entering its final phase, and humanity was no longer fighting for survival. They were fighting for justice and for the right to ensure that no species would ever again face genocide for the crime of existing. The hunters had become the hunted, and the galaxy would never be the same. 1 year after the first Reaper attack, Admiral Kang De-ho stood on the bridge of the UES Liberation, humanity's most powerful warship. Around him floated a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human vessels flew alongside ships from 6 former Council species, all united under a single banner, the Galactic Liberation Alliance. Fleet Admiral Jang Hae-rin commanded this massive force from her flagship. She had been chosen not just for her military skills, but because she understood what this final battle represented. This was not about conquest or revenge. This was about ensuring that genocide would never again be used as a tool of galactic politics. "All ships report ready," Admiral Jang announced over the fleet communications. "Target: the Council Core Station. Our mission is to end this war and establish a new order based on the principle that no species has the right to exterminate another." The Council Core Station was the obsidian chamber where this war had begun, but it was much more than a meeting place. It was a massive fortress that controlled hyperspace routes throughout the galaxy. Whoever controlled the core station controlled galactic civilization itself. High Commander Vex waited in that fortress with the remaining forces of 4 species. The Vorthak Empire, the Stellar Dominion, the Hive Collective, and the Machine Assembly had refused all offers of surrender. They would fight to the end rather than accept a galaxy where humanity had any voice in galactic affairs. "The humans approach with alien allies," General Crix reported, his insect body trembling with rage. They have corrupted the natural order. They must be destroyed completely. But Vex was beginning to understand that they had made a fundamental error in their understanding of humanity. The humans had not corrupted their alien allies. They had inspired them. Species that had been oppressed under Council rule saw humanity as proof that resistance was possible. Director Oh Jun-seo was coordinating the most complex intelligence operation in human history from his command ship. For months, his agents had been infiltrating Council systems, not just gathering information, but planting false data that would turn the enemy's own strategies against them. Council forces are moving according to our predictions, Director Oh reported. They believe our main attack will come from the Galactic North. Their defenses are concentrated in that sector, but the real attack was coming from 6 different directions simultaneously. Human forces would strike from the south, while their alien allies attacked from the east and west. Meanwhile, Prometheus soldiers would infiltrate the station itself and disable its defenses from within. Colonel Lim, Bora led the Prometheus assault team. She and 49 other enhanced humans had volunteered for what everyone knew was a suicide mission. They would penetrate the most heavily defended facility in the galaxy and fight their way to the Council chamber itself. Remember, Colonel, Lim told her team as their stealth ships approached the station. We are not here to kill everyone. We are here to end the war. Some Council members will see reason when their military position becomes hopeless. The battle began with a coordinated strike that lit up the darkness of space with energy weapons and explosions. Human ships attacked with adaptive weapons that changed their output every few seconds, making it impossible for Council defenses to adjust. Allied alien vessels used tactics they had learned from human military advisors, fighting with a flexibility that confused the rigid Council battle formations. Admiral Zhang coordinated the fleet action while watching her tactical displays. Concentrate fire on their command ships. Take out their ability to coordinate their defense. The Council fleet was larger than the Liberation Alliance force, but they were fighting a war they did not understand. Their tactics had been developed over thousands of years of fighting other alien species who thought and acted in predictable ways. Humans were unpredictable, and they had taught their allies to be unpredictable as well. Captain Lee Tae-min led a squadron of fast attack ships through the Council formation, striking at critical targets before disappearing again. His ships moved, like ghosts, appearing from hyperspace at impossible angles and vanishing before the enemy could respond. Council formation is breaking up, Captain Lee reported. Their commanders cannot adapt to our tactics fast enough. Inside the core station, Colonel Lim and her Prometheus team were fighting their way toward the Council chamber. The enhanced humans moved through the station's corridors like a force of nature, unstoppable and relentless. Council security forces fired everything they had at the intruders, but the Prometheus soldiers absorbed the damage and kept advancing. Outer defenses breached, Colonel Lim reported. Moving toward the central chamber. Resistance is heavy but manageable. The Council chamber itself was a circular room with a domed ceiling that showed the stars outside. 12 thrones surrounded a central platform where High Commander Vex stood watching the battle through massive holographic displays. As Colonel Lim and her team burst through the armored doors, only 4 of those thrones were still occupied. "Surrender," Colonel Lim commanded, her enhanced voice echoing through the chamber. "The war is over. Your fleets are defeated, your allies have abandoned you, and your fortress is captured." High Commander Vex looked at the enhanced human with his 4 black eyes. "You think you have won, but you have only begun a larger war. Other powers in this galaxy will not accept human dominance." "We do not want dominance," Colonel Lim replied. "We want justice, and we want to make sure that what you did to us never happens to any other species." Admiral Kang Dae-ho entered the chamber at that moment, accompanied by representatives from all 6 allied species. The sight was unprecedented in galactic history. Humans and aliens standing together as equals, united by shared principles rather than conquest. "The Galactic Council is dissolved," Admiral Kang announced. "In its place, we establish the Galactic Protection Alliance. Any species may join, regardless of their technology level or military power. The only requirement is agreement to the fundamental principle: no species has the right to exterminate another." Director O had prepared for this moment carefully. His intelligence network had identified dozens of minor species throughout the galaxy who had been oppressed or threatened by the Council system. Representatives from these species were already traveling to the core station to join the new alliance. "The Reapers?" asked General Crix, his voice filled with defeat. "Will be completely eliminated," Dr. Park Yun-bi announced as she entered the chamber. "We have developed biological agents that will seek out and destroy every Reaper in the galaxy. Within 6 months, they will be extinct. But more importantly, humanity would share the enhancement technology that had made victory possible. Any species that faced biological weapons would have access to the same adaptive capabilities that had saved humanity from extinction." Fleet Admiral Zhang received the final reports from the battle. "All Council military forces have surrendered or withdrawn. The core station is under Alliance control. Casualty reports show minimal losses on our side. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. The galaxy needed to be rebuilt on new principles. Species that had been enemies for millennia needed to learn to work together, and humanity, which had been facing extinction just 1 year ago, now found itself in a position of leadership they had never sought." Admiral Kong stood at the observation deck of the core station, looking out at the stars. In the distance, he could see ships from dozens of species arriving to join the new alliance. The galaxy would never again be ruled by fear and oppression. High Commander Vex approached him, his stone-like features showing something that might have been respect. "You could have destroyed us completely. Why did you show mercy?" Admiral Kang turned to face the former council leader. "Because that is what makes us different from you. We do not believe in genocide, even against our enemies. We believe in giving everyone a chance to choose a better path. The Galactic Council had tried to create a weapon that would eliminate humanity from the galaxy. Instead, they had created the catalyst that would transform galactic civilization itself. The age of oppression was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and it had all started because humanity refused to surrender, even when facing impossible odds. The galaxy had learned a lesson that would never be forgotten. Never underestimate a species that will not give up hope.